Parade! Parade! Attin! Hut! Parade! Stand at ease! Now I would like to welcome Ray Murphy, Senior Assistant Chief Fire Officer, for a brief safety message. Ray?
So just a very brief safety message before we start. So you're welcome to Gorey Fire Station and we hope you enjoy your visit. And Wexford County Fire Service just wants to make sure that all visitors are protected and keep safe during their visit. So just a few points of note, please, if you'd listen attentively. There are 2 emergency exits from this area once the bay doors are closed. So we intend on keeping the bay doors open, but just if we do end up closing the doors due to wind or rain, the first exit is to the front of the building here by the exit sign, and the second exit is to the back of the building here by the exit sign. The same goes when you're in the lecture room. There is one exit at the front of the lecture room, and there is a second emergency exit outside the door of the lecture room to your left. To raise the alarm, if in case of a fire, will you just use a break glass unit or bring it to the attention of one of the wardens on the site here or one of the fire service staff? Please familiarise yourself with your nearest exit from the position in which you are. It is important that these exits aren't blocked at any time. The toilets are to the rear of the appliance bay here, just through the corridor to the left. There's ladies and gents toilets, and there's water available in the lecture room. There's a first aider for the event, so if anyone's feeling unwell, please bring it to the attention of one of the staff and we'll get medical assistance immediately. And please let any member of staff know in case there's any spillage. So if there's any spillage of water on the floor, bring it to the attention of staff and we'll have it cleaned immediately. The smoking area is out the back of the bay here, just outside the yellow door here. And just if there's any accidents or injuries, just please report them immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ray. Now I would like to call on the Chief Fire Officer, John Marr, for a brief word of welcome.
Good evening to you all here this evening. On behalf of Wexford County Fire Service, Wexford County Council and the Last Post Association, I wish to welcome everyone present here this evening to this solemn occasion to witness the sounding of the last post at the Menin Gate in Ypres, Belgium for the 30,000th time. The last post has been sounded daily at the Menin Gate since 1928, with some interruption occurring at the time of the Second World War. The ceremony was established to remember those who paid the ultimate price during the Great War, in particular those who served with the Allied forces. During that so-called Great War, 7,000 people lost their lives daily at the height of the bloody battles that ensued. Let us this evening remember those that lost their lives in those dark days for mankind, men from Ireland, from the county of Wexford, and from Gorey and its environs. To quote our President Michael D. Higgins, the First World War was a horrific event in human history. And when we look at the world today, let us also not forget that the inhumanity still continues. Annually, over 100,000 people lose their lives during conflicts in war-torn parts of the world today. This evening, I would also like to pay tribute not just to the buglers from the fire services of Ypres, but also to the efforts and work of uniformed and non-uniformed services around the world today, dealing with those very tragic conflicts in very difficult circumstances in communities. People in the fire service, the ambulance and medical services, the NGOs, civil protection forces, including members of the Irish Army serving with the UN. All of these services, no matter where they are in the world, have Irish people as members. Many, I'm sure, from the county of Wexford. Thank you, and let us now witness the ceremony to remember and salute all those that have fallen. Thank you.
Thank you, John. On behalf, I would like to welcome everybody here to the fire station, deputies, senator, elected representatives from municipal areas, senior representatives from Wexford County Council, distinguished former members of our armed forces, ONE, the Organisation of the National Ex-Servicemen and Women's Association, Post 28, the United Nations Veterans, the Royal British Legion, Wexford County Fire Service, the Civil Defence, An Garda Síochána, the National Ambulance Service, the Irish Coast Guard, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, the Red Cross, Gorey Pipe Band, the Great War Society, North Wexford Historical Society, the Wexford Retired Firefighters Association, and finally, ladies and gentlemen, members of the public, I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Wexford County Fire Service, Gorey Fire Brigade, to our ceremony this evening. The purpose of our ceremony is to show respect and solidarity with our fellow comrade firefighters in Ypres, Belgium, who night after night, in all weathers, play the last post under the eastern arch of the Menin Gate in Ypres. They do it to honour the memories of over 1 million British and Commonwealth soldiers, thousands of whom were also Irish, who died during World War I, who were never recovered and have no known grave. This evening's ceremony will be celebrated by thousands of fire stations worldwide. Indeed, the live event from Ypres will be streamed onto a big screen here beside me. And furthermore, we will have a live uplink back to Ypres. So this is a truly global event. We here in Gorey have been very fortunate to be selected to represent the fire services of this country. And just to reiterate the safety notice, as we are still an operational fire station, in the unlikely event of us receiving a fire call out during this ceremony, please remain where you are, unless asked by a steward to move to a place of safety. The fire crews have already been briefed and detailed to fall out off parade, mount the appliances and deal with the fire. For any person who requires seating, the live event will also be streamed into the lecture room behind you, where limited seating is available. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoy this evening. I want to tell you a little story now about my family history. It is a true story, and it starts during World War I. 5 members of my forefathers served with military units throughout the conflict. On my paternal side, 4 Miller brothers served in various units. Colour Sergeant Major John Miller, Royal Irish Regiment, served at the Somme. Private Francis Miller, Irish Guards, also served at the Somme, was wounded and then returned to active service with the Royal Irish Regiment. Private William Miller of the Australian Naval and Military Expeditionary Force served in Rabaul, New Guinea, with the Australians against German interests in the Pacific. This gentleman here, Private Joseph Miller, a granduncle of mine, an uncle to my father, served with the AIF, Australian Imperial Force, with the 16th Battalion, who attacked the Hindenburg Line at Bullecourt, northern France, on the 10th of April 1917. Joe was wounded during this battle and was captured along with 2,500 others in the German front areas. Now a POW, Joe was transferred to a transit POW camp near San Salvi, near Valenciennes, 100 kilometers behind the German front lines. On the night of the 17th of July, 1917, Joe was shot dead by a German sentry whilst attempting to escape. Which brings me to this gentleman here, Patrick Howard. On my maternal side, Private Patrick Howard was born in Thomas Street here in Gorey, 31st of March, 1883. He married Mary Ronan on the 14th of April, 1907, and he enlisted in the Royal Irish Regiment. Where's he gone? Enlisted in the Royal Irish Regiment on the 20th of September, 1914, at the age of 31. Was posted to France on the 16th of December, 1914, to the 2nd Battalion, C Company of the regiment. This regiment was part of the unit of the original British BEF, British Expeditionary Force, that had been decimated the previous October after engaging the Germans at Le Filly near Fromelles. Only 36 men out of that battalion survived. The battalion war diary notes shows reinforcements of 117 NCOs and men arriving on the 8th of January 1915 at St. Omer to rebuild the battalion. Patrick was one of these reinforcements. Battalion records show that on the 15th of April 1915, they moved to the Ypres salient, or Wipers as the Tommies called it, to relieve the Canadians during the Second Battle of Ypres, facing Kitchener's Wood at Mousetrap Farm near the village of Saint-Julien near Ypres. This route to the front line would pass now where the Menin Gate now stands over the moat and ramparts along the Menin Road. You may have noticed that when I speak of Patrick, I say battalion records or war diaries show this, instead of Patrick did this or that according to his service records. This is because Patrick is what became known as the burnt documents. In September 1940, during the Blitz, German incendiary bombs fell on the War Office Repository, Ironside Street, Walworth, South London. And of the 6.5 million documents in storage, only 1.25 million were saved. Only Patrick's medal index card survived. He was awarded the 1914 Star, the British War Medal, and the Victory Medal, or so called by returning servicemen Pip, Squeak, and Wilfred. Patrick's story has been pieced together by battalion records and personal letters sent home from the front, such as this one sent to his mother, Mrs. Canavan of Thomas Street, Gorey. And he writes, "We are having a big battle and we gained the day. The Germans had gas and turpentine. We made a big capture of men and guns. It's a pity that all the Gorey boys are not here. There is only myself and John Walker from Gorey in it. Our captain got wounded, and I'm writing this in the trenches under heavy shell fire. I'm sending you a telegram that our Commander-in-Chief sent to our adjutant on our great victory, and about the Royal Irish Regiment and the gallant stand they made. Get the letter published in the newspapers back home. It reads, please convey my congratulations to the 12th Brigade on their gallant and brilliant repulse of the enemy last night in spite of gas fumes and poison shells. And I think the artillery that supported them also deserve great praise. John Walker, who was also from Gorey, died on the 28th of August 1918 from wounds sustained. He was 28 years old. In May 1915, Patrick was wounded and removed from the line. Battalion records show that he was then transferred in July 1915 to the 5th Service Battalion of the Royal Irish Regiment. This unit was absorbed into the 29th Brigade of the new 10th Irish Division. This division, less the 29th Brigade, landed at Suvla Bay, Gallipoli in August 1915. The 29th were landed further down the peninsula to support the Australians and New Zealanders at Anzac Cove. After the failed Gallipoli campaign, the entire division in early 1916 moved to Lake Dorey in northern Greece due to Bulgaria's entry into the war onto the side of the Central Powers. In August 1917, they were sent to Salonika in Greece for embarkation to Egypt for the Palestine campaign. At some time, Patrick became ill It's not known exactly when, due to the loss of his service records in the Blitz. This illness could have been due to the fact that Lake Dorian was a mosquito-infested area. Nevertheless, Patrick was discharged under King's Regulation 392 on the 16th of February 1918 as being no longer physically fit for service. He was awarded the Silver War Badge, number 318424, and a parchment known as the King's Certificate for men who had been honourably discharged. Patrick managed to return home to Gorey, to his wife, and to their 8 children. In November 1922, at the age of 40, Patrick, weakened from his illness, died from pneumonia. In a few short years that followed, 6 of his 8 children, also died and are buried with him. One of the survivors was Matthew, my grandfather, my mother's father. So without Patrick, the Howards, Kinslers, McAuliffes, Millers, Cullens, Kyoes, and many, many more would not be here today. God bless you, Patrick. Thank you. I would now like to call on a representative from the Great War Society to read the ode, A Tribute to a Tribute.
When the last post blows, the stars and the planets stand still. The wind holds its breath, the rain stops, the moon turns pale. There is peace on earth, but a mournful sadness fills the air. Compassion flows down from on high, bowing every head. The bugles sound like foghorns. From the mists of the past, the dead stand up, soft and tender. Wheels of stardust, rose petals, poppies. All is quiet under the Menine Gate, but peace wears a false mask. The last post carries us back to the old world of the killing fields, to shattered landscapes, to the stench that hangs over no man's land. Mustard gas drifts across the mud of the trenches. The horror of First World War is open-mouthed. Excuse me. A silent cry that died on the lips of thousands of lost souls. Young men, their names engraved forever in long, cold lists. Died for the fatherland, mourned in the motherland. Every evening, and at the stroke of 8, the bugles blow their names back to life. A final salute to the fallen at the end of the day's labours. Then sounds of a valley, the awakening, the call to stand up and carry on. The eternal return, creation, reaping death. Generations disappear, stories fade away. But the memory of what happened must never be lost. The last post is not just to remember, it keeps hope alive. It calls the city and the world to order. Under the Menine Gate, night after night, a legitimate ritual takes place, so that we will never forget, but above all, so that we will see, once and for all, that every war and anywhere in the world is an attack on the foundations of our civilization.
And thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just waiting in the next few minutes to cut to the live feed from Ypres. The running order will be the buglers from the Last Post Association, and then there will be an address from the Last Post Association chairman. There will be hymns from the band of the Royal Engineers of the UK. The Chelsea pensioners will be there. The Last Post then will be played by the buglers of the fire service in Ypres. There will be echoes of the last post, which will come from Westminster Abbey in London, Cardiff Castle in Wales, and Hillsborough Castle in Belfast. The exhortation will be read by Ben Robert Smith, VC and Military Medal, from the Australian War Memorial in Canberra in Australia. There will be a minute's silence, then the lament will come from Edinburgh Castle. There will be laying of wreaths at the Menin Gate. There will be laying of wreaths at the All India War Memorial in Delhi and at the Pukeru National War Memorial in Wellington, New Zealand. There will be a recital of the poem Flanders Fields by a member of the McRae family. Then Reveille will be sounded by the buglers of the Last Post Association, and then national anthems will be played.
De oplossing die we nu getroffen hebben is dat we de gezonde delen eruit hebben gehaald.
Gisteren draaide de redding van de bank uit op een onvervalste België-Nederland.
Dat is niet correct, dat doe je niet op topniveau.
U krijgt een gezond bedrijf, de Belgen 17 miljard. Zo zit het ongeveer in elkaar, ja.
Is dat nog wel wakker?
Panorama vanavond op Canvas.
Een heel goede avond, welkom bij Canvas. Een avond die we op bijzondere wijze inzetten, want in Ypres wordt zometeen voor de 30.000ste keer The Last Post gespeeld. Daarom een ode aan de ode voor de gesneuvelden van de Eerste Wereldoorlog. Ook te volgen op Canvas Plus met audiodescriptie. Ter zake start daarom wat later. Zij hebben het straks over China, want ook daar duiken nu financiële problemen op. Australië heeft af en toe wat weg van Jurassic World. Dat ziet u in Wild Australia. Een panorama legt alle details bloot van de Fortis bankendeal die werd afgesloten tussen de Belgen en de Nederlanders in 2008. Daarna Hitlers Holocaust, van de plannen tot de uitvoering. Deze documentaire toont hoe het zover is kunnen komen. In Lausanne vond de Diamond League Atletiek Meeting plaats, daarvan een uitgebreide samenvatting. En de avond wordt afgesloten in Silicon Valley, waar Richard toont dat je in dronken toestand beter geen belangrijke beslissingen neemt.
Welcome, Your Majesty, Your Excellencies, and all of you here under the Menin Gate or watching us somewhere else in the world. In this ceremony, we remember the sacrifice of hundreds of thousands of soldiers who died here near Ypres and in so many other places fighting for the causes of freedom and peace. Tijdens deze plechtigheid herdenken wij het offer van honderdduizenden soldaten die hun leven lieten in deze streek en op zoveel andere plaatsen voor de vrijheid en de vrede. But we also want to pay tribute to those who, every day since 1928 and today, for the 30,000th time, pay the tribute to all those fallen. Maar we willen ook hulde brengen aan hen die elke dag sinds 1928 en vandaag voor de 30.000ste keer een ode brengen aan alle slachtoffers. Every night stand here, the firemen of Ypres, the buglers of the Last Post Association, in good and bad weather. These days many people join them, but for many years often only a few looked on. Elke avond staan ze hier, de brandweerlui van Yper, de klaroeners van de Last Post Association, in goed en in slecht weer. Nu krijgen ze het gezelschap van velen, maar jaren geleden waren er soms weinig toeschouwers onder de poort. Many leading figures worldwide have been here, listening in silence and being overwhelmed, just as many hundreds of thousands of ordinary people have come from all over the world. Veel groten der aarde waren hier, luisterend, in stilte en onder de indruk, net zoals vele honderdduizenden anderen overal in de wereld. Dit is een ode aan de ode. This is a tribute to the tribute.
Links. Links. Next. Next.
Tribute. When the last post blows, the stars and planets stand still. The wind holds its breath, the rain stops, the moon turns pale. There's peace on earth, but a mournful sadness fills the air. Compassion flows down from on high, bowing every head. The bugles sound like foghorns. Uit de nevels staan de doden op, zacht en teder. Er dwarrelt sterrenstof, roze blaadjes, klaprozen. Alles is rustig onder de menenpoort, maar de vrede heeft een valse schijn. The Last Post blaast ons terug naar de oude wereld van dodenakkers en vertrapte weidegrond, de stank die over de slagvelden hangt. Mustard gas drifts across the mud of the trenches. The horror of the First World War is the silent cry that died on the lips of thousands of lost souls. Young men, their names engraved forever in long, cold lists. Died for the fatherland, mourned in the motherland. Elke avond om 8 uur stipt blaast de klaroeners de namen weer tot leven. Een laatste eresaluut voor de gevallenen. Het einde van de werkdag. Daarna klinkt de reveille, het ontwaken, opstaan en weer doorgaan. De eeuwige wederkeer, schepping, rijping, dood. Generaties verdwijnen, verhalen verdampen, maar de herinnering mag nooit vergaan. The Last Post does not just remember. It keeps hope alive. It calls the city and the world to order. Under the Minan Gate, night after night, this legitimate tribute takes place, so that we will never forget, but above all, so that we will see, once and for all, that every war, anywhere in the world, is an attack on the foundations of our civilization. Tonight, many people, firemen and others in this country and all over the world, not only want to watch, they also want to participate in this tribute. We will be going to the Royal Hospital in Chelsea, London, where Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, and President of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, is joined by many others, watching and participating. Vanavond willen veel mensen, brandweerlui en anderen in dit land en elders in de wereld niet alleen kijken naar deze ode, ze willen ook deelnemen. We zullen naar het Chelsea Royal Hospital in Londen gaan, waar Prins Edward, de hertog van Kent, en vele anderen kijken en deelnemen. And we will also be going to Canberra, the capital of Australia, to New Delhi, India, to Halifax, Canada, to Wellington, New Zealand, and many other places. En we gaan ook naar Canberra, de hoofdstad van Australië, naar India Gate, New Delhi, Indië, naar Halifax, Canada, naar Wellington in Nieuw-Zeeland en vele andere plaatsen. And now, we will start with the official ceremony. We listen to the call to attention, which is followed by a short address by Mr. Benoît Moutry, the chairman of the Last Post Association. En nu beginnen we met de officiële plechtigheid. We luisteren naar de geef 8 en dan naar een korte toespraak van de heer Benoît Moutry, de voorzitter van de Last Post Association.
Parade! Parade! Attend! Hut!
Your Majesty, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On the 1st of July 1928, the haunting notes of the last post were sounded under the Menengate Memorial for the very first time, as a mark of respect for those who fell in defense of the city of Ypres during the Great War of 1914-1918. 87 years and 30,000 ceremonies later, the Last Post Association still organizes its daily act of remembrance with that same purpose in mind. It is a solemn and moving tribute to the soldiers of the British Commonwealth who died for the freedoms we hold so dear and for the restoration of peace. Know that the last representatives of that golden generation have finally gone to join their comrades. It is the task of organizations such as ours to keep their memory alive and to pass on the lessons of what they experienced to the younger generations of today. By playing the Last Post here every evening, we therefore not only honor who fought and died to make the world a better place, but we also fulfill our obligations to the future by giving those who attend our ceremony the chance to reflect on the true meaning of war and all that it entails. The bravery, the suffering, the comradeship, the heartache, the devotion to duty. Depending on our different viewpoints, we may all reach different conclusions on these matters. But this is not important. What is important is that we all think about what happened here all those many years ago. What is important is that we remember. As time passes, so this process of collective remembrance will become more rather than less important. For this reason, it is vital that the Last Post ceremony continues to survive far into the future. It is only at places like the Menengate, it is only during ceremonies such as the Last Post that future generations will be able to truly understand the tragic cost of man's inhumanity to man. It is a lesson that we cannot afford to forget.
The band of Royal Engineers and the choir chorus will now play and sing the hymn Abide With Me. De band of Royal Engineers en het koor chorus brengen nu de hymne Abide With Me, blijf mij nabij.
Parade! Stand at ease!
We will now listen to the story of Private Sidney Barrow. He died 100 years ago today and is commemorated along with 55,000 other missing soldiers on this Minangate Memorial. The story is read by Stanley Pepper, a pensioner at the Royal Hospital in Chelsea, London. We luisteren nu naar het verhaal van soldaat Sidney Barrow. Vandaag precies 100 jaar geleden stierf hij en met 55.000 andere vermiste soldaten staat zijn naam hier op de menenbord. In Londen, in het Royal Hospital, de verblijfplaats van vele gepensioneerde Britse veteranen, leest pensioner Stanley Pepper het verhaal van Sidney Barrow. At the Royal Hospital in Chelsea, London, pensioner Stanley Pepper reads the story of Sidney Barrow.
The story of Private Barrow, who died on this day 100 years ago. Tonight, we especially remember, among the many thousands on the walls of the Minangate, Private Sidney Barrow, who died 100 years ago today, aged 28, while serving with the 1st Battalion of the Hampshire Regiment. Sidney was the son of William and Mary Barrow of Christchurch, Hampshire. He was married to Maud and became a professional soldier. Sidney left with the 1st Battalion at the outbreak of war, arriving in France on the 21st of August 1914. He first saw action at Le Cateau for marching south to take part in the Battle of the Aisne. In mid-October, Sidney was sent to serve in northern France and then crossed into Belgium to fight in the trenches at Plutzer, where he took part in the Christmas truce. Following the gas attack that launched the Second Battle of Ypres on the 22nd of April 15, Sidney was deployed to the salient to assist in the defense of the city. He continued to fight on as the battalion took heavy losses, and by the time Sidney took part in his final action, he was one of a small number of men who were still serving with the battalion, which had left for France in August 1914. An attack was made against the International Trench by the Rifle Brigade, and Sydney was sent to the front line 2 days later, where he was killed by splinters from a shell that burst close to him. A number of his comrades died with him, and they, with Sydney, are commemorated on panel 35 on the Menin Gate Memorial.
We now listen to the last post, the traditional salute to those who have died in the service of their country, performed by the buglers of the Last Post Association. As a tribute, the last post will be echoed from 3 symbolic locations in the United Kingdom: the tomb of the unknown warrior in Westminster Abbey, London, Cardiff Castle in Wales, and Hillsborough Castle in Belfast, Northern Ireland. We luisteren nu naar de Last Post, het eresaluut voor de gesneuvelde kameraden, gespeeld door de klaroeners van de Last Post Association.
Parade!
Als eerbetoon volgt een echo van de Last Post vanuit 3 symbolische locaties in het Verenigd Koninkrijk. Het graf van de onbekende soldaat in Westminster Abbey, London, Cardiff Castle in Wales en Hillsborough Castle in Belfast, Noord-Ierland.
Parade! General salute! Present! Arms! Parade! Order! Arms!
We gaan nu naar het Australian War Memorial in Canberra,
Parade!
Australië.
Stand
Waar het
up!
nu 4 uur in de
East!
nacht is. We now go to the Australian War Memorial in Canberra, where it is now 4 o'clock in the morning. Bij de Pool of Reflection roept Ben Robert Smith, Australië's meest gedecoreerde veteraan, ons op tot herdenken. Hij was meerdere malen actief in Afghanistan. Near the pool of reflection, Lance Corporal Ben Robert Smith, Australia's most decorated Afghanistan veteran and VC winner, calls us to remembrance of the fallen. The exhortation.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
Eén minuut ingetogen stilte in 8. We will now observe 1 minute of silence. We now listen to a lament played on the battlements of Edinburgh Castle in Scotland by Pipe Major MacGregor from 4 Scots. We luisteren nu naar het lament gespeeld op de vestingsmuren van Edinburgh Castle in Schotland door Pipe Major MacGregor from 4 Scots. Wreaths will now be laid in memory of all those who died in Flanders fields and who rest forever in Flemish soil. We gaan nu over tot de bloemenhulde aan al diegenen die in Vlaamse velden het leven lieten en thans voor eeuwig rusten in de Vlaamse bodem. Hare Majesteit de Koningin legt het eerste bloemstuk in naam van het Belgische volk. And further wreaths will now be laid by Dr. Andrew Morrison, as Special Representative of the Prime Minister David Cameron for the UK. For Australia, by Mr. Darren Chester, MP. For Canada, by Lieutenant General Richard Roemer, For New Zealand by Mr. Todd McClay, MP. For India by Ambassador Mr. Manjeev Singh Puri. For South Africa, Mr. Elwin Beck, Minister Plenipotentiary. For Ireland, Ambassador Mr. Eamon Makoda. For the United States, Ambassador Mrs. Denise Bauer. For France, Premier Secretary Mr. François-Xavier Raymond. And for Germany, Permanent Representative Mr. Michael Häusler. We now go to Berlin. Ook een krans en na hem Vlaams parlementsvoorzitter Peumans als symbolische daad van verzoening. Na Berlijn volgt nu een kranslegging in Parijs onder de Arc de Triomphe bij het graf van de Franse onbekende soldaat. After Berlin, a wreath will now be laid in Paris under the Arc de Triomphe by the tomb of the French unknown soldier. Eerst wordt de vlam voor de onbekende soldaat aangewakkerd, as every night the flame by the grave of the unknown soldier is enkindled. Staatssecretaris Jean-Marc Todeschini legt een krans neer. Secretary of State Jean-Marc Todeschini lays down a wreath. And now, in Wellington, New Zealand, at the Pukehou National War Memorial Park, a wreath is laid on the tomb of the unknown warrior by 2nd Lieutenant Claire de Broy from the Royal New Zealand Engineers. And in Wellington, New Zealand, in its Pukehou National War Memorial Park, legt Second Lieutenant Claire de Broy een krans neer op het graf van de onbekende soldaat. And finally, here back in Ypres, under the Menin Gate, Mr. Geert Bourgeois, Minister President of Flanders, Mr. Steven van de Put, Federal Minister of Defense Belgium, Mr. Karel de Calouet, Governor of West Flanders, Mr. Jan Durnay, Mayor of Ypres, Sir Joe French, Vice Chairman, Commonwealth War Graves Commission, Chairman of Parliament, Siegfried Bracke, and Mr. Benoit Motry will lay down a wreath. Halifax, de havenstad aan de Canadese oostkust, was de plaats van waaruit bijna alle Canadese soldaten tijdens de Grote Oorlog naar het westelijk front vertrokken. The port of Halifax, on the Canadian East Coast, was the place from where most Canadian soldiers embarked for the Western Front during the First World War. Canada's minister van Justitie, Peter MacKay, leest in Flanders Fields voor. Het beroemde gedicht van zijn landgenoot John McCrae. The Minister of Justice of Canada, Peter MacKay, reads in Flanders Fields the famous poem of his compatriot John McCrae.
In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
The choir chorus will now sing the hymn O Valiant Hearts, accompanied by the band of the Royal Engineers. We luisteren nu naar de hymne O Valiant Hearts, gezongen door het chorus, begeleid door de band of the Royal Engineers. Onder de India Gate in New Delhi ligt de Indische onbekende soldaat begraven en brandt ook de eeuwige vlam. Under the India Gate in New Delhi, the Indian unknown soldier lies buried and also burns the eternal flame. We now listen to the Kohima epitaph, most frequently associated with the sacrifice of a second generation of young men and women during the Second World War. De Kohima-epitaaf wordt vaak geassocieerd met de slachtoffers van de Tweede Wereldoorlog. The epitaph is read by retired squadron leader Rana Kina at the All India War Memorial Arch in New Delhi. Squadron leader Rana Kina leest de Kohima.
When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.
The ceremony is brought to conclusion with the reveille, played by the buglers of the Last Post Association. The reveille symbolizes an awakening of the dead in a better world and also rouses we who remain back to our earthly duty now that we have paid our due respects. En we beëindigen deze ceremonie met de reveille. De reveille is het symbool van de wederopstanding van de doden in een betere wereld. Het ontwaken, opstaan en weer doorgaan.
Parade! Parade! Attain! Hut!
Een speciaal dankwoord aan de Last Post komt vanuit St. James Palace in Londen, in naam van het Verenigd Koninkrijk door Prins Edward, hertog van Kent. From St. James Palace in London, Prince Edward, the Duke of Kent, addresses a special word of thanks to the Last Post in Ypres.
As President of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, the organisation responsible for the creation and upkeep of the magnificent and deeply moving Menin Gate, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to thank the people of Flanders, and especially Ypres and members of the Last Post Association, for continuing to honour the sacrifice of our fallen. The 54,000 names recorded there came from around the world, from every corner of the United Kingdom and from Ireland. Every night since 1928, in all weathers, the people of Ypres, and especially the volunteers of the Last Post Association, have been joined by pilgrims and visitors as the notes of the last post echo among the names of the dead who are once again remembered. I have stood with you on many occasions, and yet each visit is as moving as the first. Young people who participate in the daily ceremony come away with new awareness of the past and of its relevance to them. Families whose loved ones were lost in the terrible battles in the fields of Flanders have derived great comfort from the ongoing commitment of the Belgian people to continue commemorating the fallen. That is your gift to us and to those who fell, and this generous act does not go unnoticed. On behalf of us all, I offer warm thanks to the citizens of Ypres and members of the Last Post Association, and hope that this nightly act of remembrance will continue to inspire and resonate with the visitors to the battlefields in perpetuity.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. Parade, General Salute, present, arms. Parade, order, arms. Parade, stand at ease. Now I would like to call the Chief Fire Officer, John Marr, for the closing address. And as he's doing that, drivers of Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, proceed to your vehicle. And at the end of the address, you will sound the sirens and lights for 1 minute. Drivers, carry on.
Once again, let us have a quiet moment of reflection to pray and remember all those that have fallen in wars and conflicts throughout this world we live in today. I thank you all for being present here this evening at this solemn ceremony to witness the last post being sounded at the Menin Gate for the 30,000th time. I wish to sincerely thank Station Officer Richard Miller and members of the Gorey Fire Brigade for undertaking and organising this solidarity ceremony. I wish to thank Officers Ray Murphy, Neil O'Grady for their support, and a special thanks to the IT department, Peter O'Connor and Bernard Wadding, who with their assistance made this evening technically possible. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Drivers, begin. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Wexford County Fire Service, I would like to thank you here tonight for your attendance. My name is Richard Miller, Station Officer here in Gorey, and that now concludes this evening's events. Please adjourn and be our guests to the lecture room where food and beverages are now being served. Thank you. Parade! Parade! Attend! Hut! Parade will turn to the right and dismiss. Dismissed.